Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward. Welcome, my haunted hearts, to Paranormal Heart Podcast, paranormal talk with heart and soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded, streaming on United Public Radio Network 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and any place that you find your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Kat Ward. Thanks so much for tuning in. I have another great segment for you tonight. Returning to the show is my dear friend and renowned researcher of the unknown, Michelle Desrochers. Tonight, Michelle will be diving into the fascinating world of symbols and sigils, what they are, how they differ, and the power behind them. So I introduce to you, Michelle Desrochers.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Now you get to take a breather.
I know. I know.
Busy day for you.
Yeah, it has. But it's nice just to have, the next hour just to talk about things that are near and dear and to me. And that's just always just knowledge. And I like to reiterate, and by no means, an expert in any of this, but I am a student in it. So it's always nice just to share a little bit of what, I've learned and continue to learn. So.
And I appreciate you coming on and giving us your knowledge.
Thank you. It's borrowed, but I like to pass it around. So,
but it's still knowledge. I have a hard time retaining things, so it's really frustrating.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I think you find a technique. Like I write everything down. Everything is just transcribed and put aside, so when I have to look at it quickly, I can bring it up. And believe me, it doesn't all sit in here, because there's not a day that goes by where I'm not, looking up something or researching it and going, this is interesting, and putting up links and so on that I can go back and reference. And I think once you get to that technique and you find something that works for you, it becomes a lot easier. We're not getting any younger, and darn it, it's harder to retain.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So here we are.
Oh, jeepers. Yeah, getting old is not fun sometimes.
No. Life's constant reminders. Thank you.
Oh, I gotta put some banners here. I forgot to put there.
Oh.
And I forgot to change the color. Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
I usually put it to my purple, but
I
was kind of rushed today too, so.
It happens. Yeah, let me see if I can do it for you. See if I can do that.
Please stand by.
While you're doing your thing, know. Okay. I mean, it's there, so.
Yeah, no big deal. It's still there.
I'm looking right at it. So I don't know. There it is. Let's try that one. Okay. Well, I don't know. It's there. All I can recommend, just turn it off, put it back on. I got nothing. Nope. Okay. Not meant to. Nope. Sorry. Anyway, we are.
Where would you like to begin?
There.
Thank you.
Oh, that's what it is. You have to do it this way. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Better. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't do it the other way. So
well.
You're welcome. Well, where I'd like to start, I think in the world of symbols and such, for me, interest started when I started reading up on Jordan Maxwell, who just was just a genius at this sort of stuff. No longer with us, unfortunately. So there's another one of those great minds that are just gone. But in researching him and having people that I knew who knew him, boy, did things make sense. He just put things into perspective. And when you start deep diving it and really listening to the things he had to say, you just realize really what the world is about. Things hidden in plain sight, things that are just hidden, like hidden knowledge. I always say on a need to know basis, and some of us clearly don't need to know, but but it is a surprise when things come up. Sometimes you just see things and you kind of like, what's this all about? And you start looking at it and it's like, oh boy, I did not see that coming. So with some of those things, I know Joe and I have done Gray Zone episodes where we've touched into this, and again, deep diving. And I can tell you, with Jordan Maxwell, he's come up with, he's got tons of it. You can buy books on some of the things that he talks about. So we can start off with, let's explore what is the meaning of symbols or symbolism. So just right from the dictionary, bam, right from the source, no sugarcoating. Symbolism is it's the use of symbols to signify ideas and qualities by giving them symbolic meanings. So, symbolism can take different forms. It is an object representing another to give it an entirely different meaning that is much deeper and more significant. So it's like, gosh. So let's look at occult symbolism. And this is by Jordan Maxwell, just to give people an idea. The Christian church with the fish, for example, derives from the ancient god Dagon, which is about 5,000 years old. So he's a fish god. The Pope's headpiece, because we're in the age of Pisces, right? So at that point, the Pope's headpiece is a fish head. So the Christians adopted the fish as a symbol for the age of Pisces. So it's stuff you don't know, right? The magic wand. Let's look at that one. The Druids used a branch off of a holly tree equals Hollywood. Hollywood, right? This is where this comes from. Again, as per Jordan Maxwell, the evil eye, believed to be a curse casted by a malevolent glare, usually given to someone when they are not aware. So it's believed that if you're in receipt of the evil eye, it will cause misfortune or injury. So, of course, you end up with the symbol of the evil eye, or you can have it on the hand. Like I myself, wear one right here. I don't even know if you guys can see that, but I'll give you an idea what it looks like. 1 second.
No, move it over a bit to your right. There.
There we are.
Okay.
Right here.
Yes.
Can we see that? Oops. Right there.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
And it's got a symbol inside of it. And that is the eye in the hand. Whereas you can get some that is just the eye, or the different color schemes. I was joking around about this the other night because when I was in Romania, it was like the theme of the summer, I guess. And everywhere you went, there was like evil eye symbolism everywhere. When I came back with like droves, everybody got bracelets and different symbols. I was like, okay, man, everybody's going to love me after this. And it's a thing, right? It's a big thing.
Just to make it clear for those who are unaware, when you wear it, that's for protection against the evil eye. You're not trying to give others the evil eye.
Correct. No, correct. It's definitely something that protects the wearer, right? So then we're getting into when we go back to Hollywood. So Hollywood, you get into things like, in Fantasia, Mickey Mouse had the magic wand hidden in there. Music conductors have magic wands, sort of thing, right? Moses had a wand or a staff, right? Jesus allegedly used one to perform miracles, raising Lazarus, right? Like this is something that repeats itself, but it is a symbol. What is it symbolizing? So it's that example of what does the symbol symbolize, right? So getting into, for example, one of my favorites, which is, of course, Star Trek, the Spock symbol V, right? So what is the hand signal or religious symbol? The V is a religious symbol for Judaism.
I knew that.
It's a Jewish blessed symbol. It comes from the split half of a goat from the age of Aries, which equals the Lamb, Christ, Lamb of God. So that's the symbol.
I just want to add a little something to that. I remember years ago, I saw Leonard Nimoy. He did an interview, and they asked him, where did he get that symbol? Well, he says, growing up, was Jewish, and when the I can't remember the rabbi for Jew. Yeah,
That's right.
When the rabbi was doing that symbol, everyone's supposed to have their heads down. Well, he had to take a peek up to see what he was doing because he was really curious, and he saw that symbol. So I thought that was really neat.
It is, and it's a good validation that there it is, right? Like, yeah, I love it. It's stuff that is hidden in plain sight as well, so you don't always know what the meanings are, but there is meaning behind everything, you know. And I mean, the swastika is a real big one. I mean, because that was, you know, sort of a symbol of peace, and now people look at it and go, they revere it, and they say, this is something that has been, I guess, somewhat bastardized, but they don't realize it is like it was first discovered on a 15,000-year-old ivory figurine of a bird.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, and it means conductive to well-being. Hypothesized to have been used for fertility and health, peace. It was a positive thing. It was encouraging. Very well known in Hinduism, Buddhism, you know, and it became was stylized for a while as a Christian cross, and it had been corrupted, I guess, you know, when you look at the Nazis and its association with World War II. But it is something that is, you know, I remember going to this, you know, I've traveled a lot working through investigations and, you know, in the field of the paranormal. And on a couple of different occasions, I walked into, you know, these really nice, big old houses from, you know, older prestigious families in the States. And on a couple of occasions you come in and one of them had a big swastika, like literally right in the foyer.
Wow.
And it's just like, but the symbol just didn't mean what we have all come to see it as.
Yep.
You know?
I'm going to see it as an evil symbol now.
But that's what people look at, you know? And the peace symbol is the same. Like peace, I mean, that was created in 1958 by British graphic designer named Gerald Holton. And he created this for a banner, get this, for a nuclear disarmament march in London. And they wanted a symbol that would stick into people's minds. But if you invert it, okay, it represents the tree of life, the tree on which Christ was crucified. So it's very symbolic to Christians.
Huh.
I know. That's what I said. Like, huh. Yeah, because I walked in, again, I was in a home one time, and that was a big thing that they had. All mosaics was, of course, the inverted peace symbol. So it was Christian, because it was a Christian family, you know. But it's just like, oh, that's really interesting, the inverted one, because we've come to see the other one.
Yeah, right? I'm just making notes. If I happen to look down, I'm not ignoring you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things you can get into. Again, secret societies, right? So if you're looking at, for example, the pyramids of Giza, you have the pyramid, the one that's right behind the Sphinx, not the Great Pyramid that has the 5 sides, but, you know, the 4 at the bottom. The Great Pyramid actually has 9 sides. So it's got the 8, it's 8-sided, and then it has the bottom. But all sides are divided down the middle and can only be seen on a specific day, specific hour, when the sun is just right. That's it. It's the only one of its kind like that.
Sounds like an Indiana Jones movie.
I know. I know, right?
Have you been to Egypt?
I have. I have been to Egypt, and it was beautiful, obviously beautiful experience. I would have much more appreciation for it now than I did then. Because I mean, I always love the history. I love the architecture, things like that.
Same.
But being in the field and learning more about, you know, frequency, vibrations, you know, the whole geometry behind it, and the spirituality behind it, and digging deeper into more of this, you know, unknown archaeology and such, makes it really fascinating, because you realize, even back then they had it a lot more together than we do. And so many people have the answers, And I think a lot of it goes back to just people who have information in private libraries throughout the world, or perhaps, the Vatican, as far as a lot of stuff that has to do with origins and things like that. Like, there's a lot there. A lot of it's coming to light, when you factor in that there's a whole other complex system under the pyramids now. It's like, yeah, but they've always known, but it's, hey, here's this big discovery. Yeah, sure. All right. So anyway, want me to move along?
I was just getting ready to say, yeah.
Okay.
You read my mind.
So then we look at the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid on a US dollar, for example. In Freemasonry, for example, it represents all-knowing and all-seeing God. Right. Again, this is all Jordan Maxwell. I like to make mention of this because you guys, really, anybody interested in symbols, he's definitely a reference to start with. The Christian cornerstone. So Jesus is referred to as a cornerstone of Christianity, or the church. He actually is the chief cornerstone, which means small pyramid, a small on top of a large. You know how you get the top pieces that go on the top of the pyramid. You don't see it on the Great Pyramid. It's kind of cut off, but those are the cornerstones. Sorry, everything's going crazy. All of a sudden, everybody's dinging me. Anyhow, so then we get into the trident symbol with the three prongs, right? A lot of people will know that from Neptune or Trident, right? So Little Mermaid, right? Anyway, even length is a secret symbol of the cross of Christianity. Poseidon was said to be a pre-Christian god. So again, we're getting into the gods. It's also a fire symbol with the three prongs that look like flames. Therefore, the symbol of a thunderbolt or lightning, hence representing the sky gods, like Thor, for example. Yeah,
I did not know that.
I know. It's just the stuff that, Mr. Maxwell definitely has some stuff going on there, and it's eye-opening. The Eye of Horus is another big one. Ancient Egyptian symbol of protection, royal power, good health. Some believe that it's a representation of our pineal gland, our mind's eye, as well. So the Eye of Horus.
I actually have that tattooed. I have a big scarab, and above the scarab, it's looking at a big circle, and in the circle, it's the Eye of Horus.
See? Right there, right? There it is.
But I chose that for a reason. Because there's the Eye of Ra and Eye of Horus, and they're different. They're facing different directions too. But so I had to make sure that my tattoo artist had it right.
Yeah. Well, see, it's a personal thing. You know what it represents for you. But now when you put them together, go in and see what Jordan has to say about it. It might be kind of like going, wow, good choice on me. So
I'm going to have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's honestly, I'm sharing up a lot of his stuff right now because it's stuff that your listeners and viewers can go and just Google Jordan Maxwell and the amount of stuff that you're going to find. I've got a book of his that is just like loaded with stuff, but there's several. You can see his interviews everywhere. He was just a brilliant man. The sun in the sky, the sun. So the equal arm cross within a circle is an ancient symbol, roughly 4,500 to 5,000 years old. It symbolizes the four seasons, in the four corners being obviously north, south, east, west, right? It represents the four gospels: Matthew, Luke, Mark, John. And the symbol, if it's used with, by many in different cultures, can be found all over the world. The Celts, the Vikings, the indigenous peoples, the French. It goes on and on and on. I have seen, being in France, I've seen that symbol in Europe, especially throughout France. And you see it on old buildings, not just like, church buildings, but you'll see it like carved in old buildings. It's incredible. The Egyptians knew the importance of the sun, and it's believed, of course, that royalty believe that royalty and governments will occasionally use a form of a circle
Hmm.
and a cross. So the churches use the same symbol, and the worship of the sun goes back thousands of years before Christianity. I mean, you can get into the Pharaoh Akhenaten, for
Mhm.
example. I mean, he fell into some big trouble because he worshipped just the sun, the one God. It wasn't all of these multiple gods,
Yeah.
right? So he was like, they called him the heretic king
I
for
can
that
see how
reason.
that would be a little controversial for that
Oh, yeah,
time.
I'll say,
Oh, yeah.
I'll say, to the point where he created his own city that was based on this. So,
Hmm.
theories with Jordan Maxwell. Mary
Mhm.
actually worked as a Mari. Mary equals, and what Mari means, Virgo, which in turn equals virgin, right?
Mhm.
Jesus represents the sun. God owns the sun, therefore Jesus is technically God's son, but
Mhm.
the sun. Again, this is Jordan's theories. Um, so essentially, with priests, when they raise up during mass, it has a sun symbol on their vestment, right? Jesus, the Son, dies on the cross, then goes back to the circle of the Southern Cross. SUN stops going south December 22nd, stays in the same degree for the 23rd and the 24th, because he died, 3 days, right? Dies for 3 days and moves 1 degree northward on the 25th. So it rises yearly like a rebirth.
Wow.
Yes.
It's all connected.
It is all connected, but you just go back and look at a lot of ancient texts or ancient cultures and civilizations as to what their, all of their views are on this. Like, I have to say, there are people out there who talk about this stuff, but I mean, Jordan Maxwell just makes it connect. It makes sense, which is why if I talk about this, that's why I say this is shared information.
Mhm.
But it's just like, I think more people. There's so many people who followed this man,
Mhm.
but this is something that it needs to be put out there, because it's all been out there in plain sight. It's just been, perhaps misinterpreted the wrong way, through whether it be conditioning or whether it be, misinterpretation. That's just stuff. And again, I like that he puts down, well, here's a theory. So
Yeah.
he's not saying this is like 100%.
Mhm.
But again, sun worship goes back to the Egyptian culture of Ra, the sun god Amun Ra. And that's where Akhenaten went to Aten. Instead of Amun Ra, he went to Aten, Aton.
Hmm.
Christianity refuses to give up the cult of Amun Ra, hence why at the end of every prayer you respond, Amen.
No way.
No, Amen. Same thing, Amun Ra, Amen. Spelt the same, Amen, Ra, and you end the prayer with Amen. So pretty cool. The Catholic Church promotes sun worship. You can see sun rays on
Mhm.
the sun of many of their symbols, right? God's sun is sun of the light of the world. Jesus has a halo behind his head, which in fact is an equal arm cross within a circle.
Hmm.
So it's like I said, hidden in plain sight. It's all there,
Yeah.
right?
And then
So
a lot of it is lost knowledge too. You see all these symbols, you recognize them, but you might not know what the meaning is.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, but you don't, because a lot of these are really ancient symbols.
Yeah.
Like they're how would you know if it wasn't explained to you? I mean, just remember too, like back in the day, not a lot of people could read and write. Only select people could read and write,
Mhm.
So you had to really, you just see a symbol, it's just like, okay, like I've had Micah Dank on, and he's talked about a lot of Jordan stuff as well. But he'll go through any book, the Bible, Book of Enoch, and he'll give you all of the astrological symbols And like, okay, well, here it is, and this date, this was that. And as things are written out, he will come out and basically say, okay, this is what all of this means. So you're looking at it going, it's almost like it was written in code.
Yeah.
But he brings that to light. So, he's probably going to be the next one. I tell people, he'll be the next one that you should watch. So planet Earth and the cross within the circle. Again, most of our planets are named after Greek or Roman gods or goddesses. Earth's sign, however, is the circle with a cross in the middle, representing, again, the 4 compass points. It also been interpreted as the globus, I'm going to butcher this, cruciger, which is an old Christian symbol for Christ's reign on earth. There's a statue in the Vatican, which is Virgo, so essentially the Virgin, holding a sun symbol, which is cradled. The Pope carries a sun symbol staff. All ancient cultures basically shipped the sun. There were symbols everywhere. Any of the ancient cultures, there's sun symbols everywhere. They worshipped it. It's that simple. They did. And it's true. It's true. You see it. Like in places that I've traveled throughout the world, I definitely see traces of it. You just need to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So essentially, the sun in the church, cathedrals are actually believed to be star observatories. Right? And the swastika is actually another sun symbol as well.
That I didn't know. Wow. Every time I hear you speak about things, it's just like it's my mind blown.
Me too. I find this stuff, when I find this stuff, I just sit there and go like, wow. And this is, again, this is stuff I'm reading. Everything I'm going through right now, this is all Jordan Maxwell. I am just sharing, literally, I've taken some of the points, and it's just like, it's a great place to start for anybody who's really interested, because you just sort of start putting, 2 and 2 together, and you realize like, it's insane. So let's look at Illuminati symbol of the rising sun, right? The sun lights up the world. It is illuminated symbolically by the sun. This goes back to sun worshiping. The Illuminati, say that 3 times in a row, symbols you see, right, we'll see are 2 mountains, which go back to ancient Egypt, like the 2 pillars, and the sun coming up between both, right? The east. The sun goes down. This equals a new beginning. Pretty simple.
It's in there in the name too, Illuminati, illumination. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's all pretty simple, start looking into it. New World Order. Okay.
Oh, everybody's all like, no.
I know. Well, I mean, again, it's one of those things that I think what the symbol shows and what the intentions are, of those in power, make it a little bit different. But, as per Jordan, the sun, S-U-N, quotation, sons of tomorrow, rising over the mountains of the east, Illuminati, rising over the mountains of the east. So you leave it there and you start getting into some, right? So we'll leave that there. There's some homework for you kids. Go just do some deep diving, and it just leaves you sort of amazed, but it answers a lot of questions, and you're like, a lot of this is being, brought into fruition. The Egyptian Ankh, which I've worn many, many times, is the cross of life, right? Old symbol, cross of life. It's an ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs message. So it's a symbol meaning the key of life. It's one of the most ancient symbols of Egypt. The Coptic Christians of the 4th centuries believed it to be a symbol of Christ's promise of everlasting love and life. So I thought that was just beautiful. I love to wear that. And if you're getting into Tao, like the yin and the yang, ancient Chinese symbols means to convey widespread belief in unity, magic, clarity, holism, meaning all as one, all is God. There's your yin and your yang.
Mm-hmm. I can't help think of an old Star Trek episode with Nimoy and Shatner, and I can't. There's just this one part where they found themselves on this planet, and they thought they were worshiping the sun, S-U-N, but then Uhura says, "No, it's not the sun; it's the Son of God."
Yeah.
That episode really blew my mind for some reason.
But you see, like there's a lot of things that are hidden in film because you could
Yes.
get into I can put you in touch with somebody who just does symbolism in film, who's been on, and it's really, really interesting stuff. But everything is hidden. So if you look, for example, you see there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, especially in the world of celebrities, so on and so forth. And even in politics, you see a lot of symbols. You see people sitting like this, just doing little hand signals.
Yeah.
You're kind of like going, okay, people are catching on. People are aware because there are people saying, no, we know exactly what that is, blah, 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 blah. If you read, you'll see it. But here's the key. You have a lot of dances going on. You'll see choreographers putting together things for celebrities who are coming out, and you're going, wow, this is a big theatrical thing. But a lot of times they are rituals, right? And in doing that, the idea is that they can't hide it. They have to. That's the key. They can't hide it. It has to be put out there. So it is. You just don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah, you don't recognize it.
When you look at the Olympics,
I was just thinking of
right,
that.
a few years back when the world went quiet and everybody was shut down for a while, think back to the opening ceremony. I believe it was the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Hospital beds being skated around, running around with them. And then you had, beings this big, and they're showing all of this. Like, this is a very unusual opening ceremony.
It was.
But all of a sudden, bam, we're in the midst of all of it, and then we had one after that, which represents a lot of a movement that we're going through now. So we're eased into it. We're all eased into what's coming. But if you don't know what you're looking at, obviously some things get misconstrued. You're looking at that going, the first one I mentioned, no, that's pretty much an obvious in your face. The second one is kind of like, okay, this is what they're trying to represent. But when you really dig deep, it's a representation, of an ancient Greek or Roman sort of feast that's happening, and the way they finally had the end position, the way they were all sitting. So there's a lot, but the point is they cannot hide it. So when you see symbols, first off, it's not all what they seem. And how much of it has been changed even in modern times. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you're kind of like, oh, okay. You might think, for example, swastika, well, that's evil because it had been switched around. But there's a lot behind that too, right? But just go back into ancient times. If you see a symbol, just go in and look it up and see. Get a book. I like books. Right?
Yes.
A lot of this I get from Jordan's book, and it's just like, okay, like it's a lot of fun to read, and it is an education in itself. It really is. But you have to have a really open mind to it as well, and think maybe like the ancients did. These are ancient symbols. So it's not like these are people living in these times as to what we're going through. This is stuff that goes way back, and you have to look at them and think, maybe put yourself in the mind or the mindset of those living in that time. What would it have been represented to them?
Did you know that there's a place, there's a town in Ontario called it's named Swastika?
See? Peace.
Yeah. First time I heard about that, my first instinct obviously was, what a name. But then I remembered what the original meaning was, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Changes everything when you are, when you're clued in
Yeah.
to what things really mean, because I mean, you can't look at a symbol. Symbols are created by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we're in modern times. We see something, it's like, this is what it is. But now we have the technology to which allows us, to do our homework. All we have to do is be interested enough to look it up, because it's not everything that we think it is. And some of these go back a really, really long time. When you look at the swastika, 15,000 years ago, the symbol was discovered on an item that was 15,000 years old.
Isn't that crazy how old that symbol is?
Yeah. But that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying. Like, there's just, things are not the way we're either conditioned to see now. Like, for example, you go to the Vatican, there's a big statue of Molech as soon as you walk in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a Canaanite deity. It was Gnostic, going back even to the time of the Cathars. I mean, they would worship. It was, and a lot of times it was a child sacrifice back then. And people just like, what is this here for? But it's just, if you go back into the Old Testament, even where they talked about the gods, that was a god. If you look at the serpent, it was like, oh, the serpent, the serpent in many cultures is believed to be a symbol of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just start piecing it together, it's not so cut and dry. Think about, the ancient meanings of different things.
Yep.
Like when you see a crow or raven, people lose their minds. There's crows in the yard. Well, crows and ravens are said to be messengers from they can communicate with the dead. They can communicate through the veil.
Yep.
So they're not something. I mean, I grew up with ravens on my property. It was just, they were always there. And crows, I mean, they're so smart, incredible talkers.
Yeah.
But not what people think. Same with black cats, it's just not what people think.
I've always had a black cat ever since I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had several. And I remember reading an article one time on witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And people said, oh, it must have been white witchcraft. It was just witchcraft in general. And the familiar that was spoken about was a white cat. Oh. So I thought, that's interesting as well. So, there's just so much out there that we don't know. So for us to sit there and say, well, this is the way it is because it's written here or written here, it's just like, just dig deep. I'll tell you something. When I started digging into things that I sort of questioned, it just opened up a whole other world for me.
If you look at the number 13 and 7, before Christianity, 13 was a lucky number and 7 was not. And now it's the reverse.
Yes. I've always had good 13s. 13,
me too, yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So again, you can get into, there's so many different aspects of symbols and symbolism. You could do a 2-3 hour show on it. There is just so much to know. So I will leave the symbols part of the show with, look up Jordan Maxwell. It will lead you to other things. And remember that when you're watching something on television, especially because that's the biggest, they say, that's where people, you get brainwashed. It's like, because the symbols are all there. And if you're looking at something, pay attention to the little symbols that you see. Sometimes it's on a t-shirt, sometimes it's on a lampshade. There have been shows, especially some of your favorite TV series where there's a poster on the wall or a picture. Like, take notice, because it is hidden in plain sight. They have to put it in plain sight.
I've always liked to look at the background whenever I'm watching a movie or a TV show, not just the actors that are speaking. I like to know what's going on behind, kind of behind the scenes, what's going on. Because a lot of times it can be comical what the extras are doing, But or just like you said, you look at a poster in the background.
I go back and look at some of the shows I used to enjoy watching. It'll come up on a streaming platform, and I'll look at it. But now it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You just start noticing things everywhere. Once you know what you're looking for, you're kind of like, oh, see, I never ever would have looked at that and thought, ABC. Like I never would have thought of it. But now that you know, and then you start researching, let's say that segment, or maybe it's an actor, maybe it's a producer. It's crazy the information you find.
Do you ever get obsessed with looking for symbols now?
No, I'm only get obsessed with old chairs. Wayne will tell you, just really big, heavy antique chairs.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm kidding, but I'm not.
He has to lug into the house.
He does. He hates it. He's a champ. I adore him for it. I say, getting obsessed with research for me, I always say, show me, because sometimes, you just get this sense that there's someone in the ethereal side trying just to nudge you into a certain direction. I do a lot of research. I'll just say, okay, show me. And all of a sudden I'll just start reading articles, and that article might have a link that will take me where I need to go that I would not normally have found. Sometimes it's really that easy. If there's something about symbols or symbolism, for example, since that's what we're talking about, that you want to know about, just put it out there. Believe me, the universe will show you. Your guides will show you. Your ancestors will show you. You will always find what you were meant to find, and that's how it's worked for me. And I have found incredible stuff. But it's open doors. Like I had a curiosity about symbols, not like I was obsessed with it. And all it took was me finding one person, Jordan Maxwell, and I just started reading, going, wow, that's something for sure. And then I never ventured a whole lot outside of him, because this is what he did, and he died an elderly man, and he'd done this for a lot of years. And he's an amazing, reliable source. I've cross-referenced a lot of the stuff that I found, and it always comes back to, I like what he's got to say. I like his perspective.
When did he pass?
3 years ago, I believe. 2 years ago. Not long ago.
Yeah.
Not long ago. So that's, that's very recent stuff. You'll read stuff through Jordan that you'll be just like, holy cow. Like, get into some of the government stuff.
Oh.
We're all a number. And my probably one of my most favorite saying is, all the world's a stage. And how I was researching again, funny that, something one day, and then that it was just like a voice that I heard said, all the world's a stage. And I went, that's a song. I know that's a song. I was, but then I started, and again, things started popping up, and I was just like, all the world's a stage. Things are not as they seem.
There was an actor too, or a producer, or somebody that said that years ago, but I can't remember who.
Oh, I'm sure it's a common phrase.
Oh yeah.
But when you start digging into the world of symbols and such, you realize just how much is put together, because you can look at a line of people who are on television governing, a certain news outlet, or just people in power, and you start seeing symbols and this and that, and you start realizing after a while that it's just a lesser of two evils, and everybody's, all the world's a stage. Your puppets, you have puppet masters who you never see. So it's a pretty deep dive, but it's definitely one worth taking. So quickly on sigils then, as I know we're hitting up there.
Yes.
When most people think sigils, they think Solomon, right? And they think the demons and so on and so forth. But when you're looking at sigils, you have to remember there's something that is created by either a practitioner, whether it's associated with magic a lot. And Solomon was said to have, the magic ring, and he could control demons. And he created sigils for these beings. Let's see if I can bring one up here. I'm not sure which one's going to be. It's a big crazy picture, but I just want to give you guys an example of what sigils are. I just have to shrink it a bit because it came up like the size of an elephant on my screen. Okay, so let me just move this just to give you an example. And these are the ones that are associated with Solomon. So share screen. Bear with me. Here we go. Okay, these are sigils. So they're very intricate, right?
Yeah.
And you can look at them and be like, okay, well, what does what mean? These are supposed to be the demonic ones, the names, but there are others. Again, there are so many others. Let me see if I can bring up. Let's see if I can bring up another one here. I think the other one might be a little. Okay, these are the ones here. Okay, so I'm going to put this up too. Now, these are the ones that are affiliated also with names of demons. And if you look at them, they're not hidden. You can find them anywhere. I found these online just to share with you guys. So you start looking at what we were looking at were like the interiors of within the circle. That was the white one. They're all like within these circles. So you have practitioners even today who follow into, Solomon's work. I say work, his belief, and they will use these sigils, create these sigils to pretty much get the information, or get a demon to do their work. So it's essentially, it's like an Enochian system, right? So I know people who have, either branded them on themselves, tattooed them on themselves. I mean, I've got, books with a lot of the sigils that he used, allegedly, and they basically explain what everything does. But in the end, when you are creating a sigil, it is a lot of times with personal intention.
Yep.
Right. And that's the core of the sigil, personal intention. So whether it's a desired goal, whether it's something that is just, whether it's in the subconscious mind, whether it's just something that people are going through the whole process of, creating it on the floor, doing all kinds of crazy things. Like there are a lot of ways to work with them. But I think the key aspect is just essentially it represents something else, whether it's represented as a spirit, whether it's something with personal intention, but they were believed to be the true names of spiritual entities. And sometimes, again, they've been found in different medieval ceremonial texts, right? It all comes down to magic, is pretty much, so if you're a practitioner, a magician, a witch, you'll be able to do these things. And, I don't want to get into how you do them, because it's one of those don't try this at home sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there are ways to do it where they're very, very effective. There are a lot of people online who talk about different things that they do with them, but it is a process. I have a friend who's a practitioner, and she's done like very interesting things with them, and she knows a lot of the techniques as to what to, even right down to the cloth that you put it on. Like, I mean, it's very precise. But if you listen to Nathaniel Gillis, he'll tell you that there have even been, ET contactees and such, or people who have been attacked by demons who have had sigils even on the inside of their eyelids.
Oh. And if I'm not mistaken, the sigils are intricate because I think it has a whole bunch of, how can I word this? Everything has a meaning inside. It's not just like one symbol for the sigil. I think everything
it's like putting together, like a little a little picture design that has all of your everything that you want put into
Yeah,
it. You can look at
like a
this
recipe.
pretty much, yeah,
Yeah.
right down to looking at you know north, south, east, west, or what the moon, the sun, when they're in which direction.
Hmm.
Okay, to do this, it'll happen when the sun is in this position or the moon is in this position. They're intentionally like they're symbolic, right? But they have to be activated, and that comes from the practitioner. If you're
Hmm.
looking to control a spirit, oh my god, like you want to gain control over a spirit, you need to know again its true name, and you put that in a picture form,
Hmm.
and then you have to manifest that. So there are different things, the different tools of manifestation, so you can go in, but you're harnessing your own psychic
Hmm.
energy or spiritual energy to achieve this. And this is where some people are just so far above others, because this is what they do. They're practitioners. This is something that they do regularly. Like, I mean, it's not like, I mean, could you be effective if you did it once or twice? Well, I've known people who've dabbled in many different levels of the occult and say, well, yes, it has. But it's one of those things that is careful what you wish for. If you're going to try to control something, like it's like trying, just go poke the bear or poke the lion in the cage.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out well for you.
Yeah.
People will bring things like this forward and think, well, I can get a demon to do anything I want. Well, good luck with that. They'll let
Yeah.
you believe that you're the one in control, but eventually it doesn't take long
They're
before
going
you
to find a crack.
realize that my whole life is crap and I don't know why. Well, I don't know. Who's really in charge?
Yeah.
Like it happens. And there was a long belief that these entities are not overly clever. Some of them, I guess it depends, may be not, but there are some out there who are highly clever. It just seems like, I don't know, they're we'll just say that some of them are very clever. And if you really start getting into a lot of even Solomon stuff, the
Hmm.
Goetia, all of these, there's tons of books. There's books on many different things, on sigil creation and intention and things like that. But it you have to have your wits about you, because if you don't know what's coming in and you think you are in control, is your biggest mistake.
Hmm.
Because even some of the most skilled practitioners will tell you these things are very, very clever, and they have duped some of this, they have duped some pretty smart individuals, people who are very in tune, amazing. I mean, you can see I've known great psychics who have been channeled,
Mm.
and they don't even see it coming because they're not really aware of what's coming in. You have these things that can mimic, and you can end up in some pretty bad situations. Solomon himself was said to have been tricked by
Mm.
one of these demons, got the ring from him, and was able to just fling him. Like, it's believed that he was, the story goes, I think something along the lines of he was flung years ahead, or
Oh.
or either years behind back in time or years ahead. It took him a while. Like, he was thrown to another place, and
Mm.
it took him 4 years, I think is a story, to return. So, and he was tricked, and he was a guy who thought he was in control,
Yeah.
who designed all of these sigils and had the
I
ring.
always, I always try to explain it to people like fire. You can control fire, have a healthy respect for it, but if you misuse it, well, then you're going to get burned.
It's true. And it's
Yeah.
probably the best way to put it. You have to look at it like chaos magic, which is
Yeah.
basically sigils are seen as something that is a tool
Mhm.
that, to manifest a personal goal. And really old tradition with it. Some people have even used them to bring forward celestial entities and spirits, not just darker things. So
Mm.
just again, be careful. There's too many things on the other side that if you dabble within the ethereal realm, you're not always getting what you think you're getting. And
Yeah.
sometimes it hits you when you least expect it. They're not all just like dumb as a lamppost. Some of these things are quite clever, and
tricksters and
well, they have, and I don't want to say that, oh no, what's a better word for clever? There's a calculating. There are many facets to them, and if you want to dabble, you will get it.
I've always felt too that two individuals could use the same sigil, but would have two different outcomes just depending on what their intent is and that sort of thing.
100%. It's all about intention.
Yeah.
And you're using your personal energy, and we're all different.
It's a special thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we ourselves are all different. Our energy is all different.
Mm-hmm.
So you combine that with intention, you combine that with, why you're doing it in the first place, but the power behind your intention is the key.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even little things like my son, I'll just use that as an example. Quite a few years ago, one of the teachers said something, but that's not how he interpreted it. And when I brought it up to the teacher, she's like, that was not my intent. I'm like, that's not what, maybe that wasn't your intent, but that's how he interpreted it. How he perceived it. And for him, it was a negative thing that you had just said. So I said, I think you need to explain to him and apologize, which she did. Yeah.
It's like the old saying, say what you mean what you say.
My dad always does that.
Yeah. And follow through, because, you can take things, anything, many different ways. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of why we see so much conflict, out in the world, because we all come from different walks of life. We all have different belief systems. Many have, different faiths, and we're all made to share a space together. And I think it's important, to look at that. We live in a multifaceted world, and we ourselves are complex and multifaceted. There are many sides to all of us, and I think that's something we need to bear in mind. Whether you are a practitioner, of magic and the occult, I think you have to be very precise with that sort of thing. But just life in general.
Mm-hmm. Just for an example, a thumbs up for us means it's good, but in some countries, you don't give them a thumbs up.
I have people, you send them this long message on a text and you get a thumbs up. I'm like, that means F you in Canadian. Stop it. You just totally told me. Well, of course, I'm kidding. But you're right. You're right. Yeah. There are some countries that don't take kindly to that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy.
It is. It is. Another one of those symbols.
Well, my friend, we are at the end, and I know people know where to find you, but just to refresh people's memories.
Oh, gosh. Well, you can find me on the United Public Radio Network, of course, Wednesdays and Thursday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. You can find me Tuesday afternoons, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. For Beyond the Outer Realm, the main show is The Outer Realm. And tonight, of course, we're talking with Gerald Denton, talking about Land Between the Lakes, which is notorious for...
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, which is really a notorious place for dogman and Bigfoot encounters. So, it's kind of got a scary history to it. So, we'll see. By request, there it is. So,
can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much for taking the time and educating us on the differences between sigils and symbols.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Anytime.
Bye, everyone. I'm back.
We both did it. Well, my haunted hearts, we're at the end of another segment. I can't believe it already. So a huge thank you to my special guest tonight, Michelle, and to you, my wonderful audience, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans and 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It truly means the world to me. And if you like a piece of paranormal heart to call your own, you can grab some swag. So like this mug, if you're watching the movie, yes, this is not a movie, this is a video. If you're watching the video, you can see this Paranormal Heart mug. If you want to purchase anything like that or just say hello, reach out to me at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. So until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other, sending you all kinds of love. Bye.